A wounded lynx collapses in the middle of a zebra herd, and a wildlife filmmaker catches the entire impossible moment on camera. Instead of running or attacking, the zebras protect the predator. Days later, the lynx saves one of their own, and when the footage is finally uploaded, it leaves the world stunned. A wounded lynx stumbles through the golden grass, its breath coming in ragged. Desperate gasps. They freeze, their black and white stripes blurring together as they lock eyes on the intruder. In the wild, a predator near the herd usually means one thing: run or fight. The stallion at the front lets out a sharp, piercing snort, his hooves digging into the dry earth. He's ready to strike, ready to protect his kin from the threat approaching their sanctuary. A few hundred yards away, tucked behind a thicket of acacia trees, a veteran park ranger and wildlife filmmaker holds his breath. His finger rests lightly on the record button of his high-definition camera. He had come here to document the seasonal migration, but his lens is now fixed on a scene that defies every law of nature he's ever learned. His heart hammers against his ribs. He knows he should probably intervene, perhaps call the veterinary team, but the raw tension of the moment keeps him rooted to the spot. He watches through the viewfinder as the lynx collapses, its body shivering, its eyes glazing over with the dull film of exhaustion and pain. It isn't hunting, it's dying. The zebras don't scatter. Instead of the chaotic thunder of hooves fleeing across the plains, there is a heavy, suffocating silence. A few younger zebras retreat, their ears pinned back, but the elders stay. They form a loose semicircle around the fallen cat. It's a standoff between instinct and something far deeper, something that looks almost like curiosity. The ranger adjusts his zoom, his hands trembling slightly. He sees the lynx look up, its ears flat, showing its teeth in a weak, pathetic hiss. It expects a killing blow. It expects the heavy hooves of the stallion to crush its ribs. But the blow never comes. The stallion takes a tentative step forward. He lowers his head, sniffing the air filled with the scent of blood and fear. The ranger watches, mesmerized, as the massive zebra stands over the small, broken predator. This is the moment where nature usually takes its course with brutal efficiency. Yet, the stallion doesn't attack. He turns his body, positioning himself between the lynx and the open plain where the scent of blood might attract larger, more ruthless killers like hyenas or lions. Slowly, the rest of the herd follows suit. They don't leave, they stay, forming a living wall of stripes, a fortress of flesh and bone around a creature that should be their enemy. Over the next few hours, as the sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in bruises of purple and orange, the lynx finally moves. It drags itself into the center of the herd, tucking its wounded body into the long grass beneath the bellies of the zebras. It's an impossible sight. The zebras continue to graze, their rhythmic chewing the only sound in the deepening twilight. The ranger stays in his vehicle that night, unable to look away, the glow of his camera screen the only light in the dark. He knows that if he leaves, the spell might break. He records through the night, capturing the lynx as it finally falls into a deep, healing sleep. Surrounded by the heartbeat of the herd, days turn into a week. The ranger returns every dawn, finding the same spot, his lens becoming a witness to a burgeoning miracle. The lynx is no longer a shivering heap of fur. Its leg is still stiff, but the light has returned to its eyes. It moves among the zebras like a strange, shadow-colored ghost. It doesn't try to hunt them. It doesn't even look at the foals with hunger. Instead, it seems to understand the unspoken contract. It hunts small rodents and birds at the periphery of the camp, returning to the safety of the stripes whenever the wind carries the roar of a distant lion. The herd, too, has changed. They no longer flinch when the lynx shifts in the grass. The foals, once terrified, now graze just feet away from the cat, their mothers watching with a calm that is utterly baffling. The ranger records it all, his hard drives filling with footage that he knows will change the way the world views animal intelligence. He sees the lynx grooming itself near the stallion. Two species separated by millions of years of evolution and a predator-prey dynamic. Now sharing the same patch of earth in total peace. It's a fragile, beautiful bubble of coexistence. But the savanna is a cruel mistress, and peace is always temporary. On the 10th day, the heat is stifling, the air thick with the smell of dry dust. A young zebra foal, weakened by a sudden fever, begins to lag behind as the herd moves toward a distant watering hole. It's a small, frail thing, its legs wobbling under the weight of its own head. From high above, the scavengers see it first. Great! Dark shadows begin to circle in the sky. Vultures and eagles, the grim reapers of the plains, descend, their sharp eyes locked on the struggling foal. They are patient, but they are hungry. The ranger zooms in on the foal. He sees its mother nudging it, her eyes wide with panic. She knows the danger. The herd is moving on, driven by the desperate need for water, and the gap between the foal and the safety of the group is widening. The eagles begin their descent, their talons outstretched, ready to tear into the soft flesh of the young animal. The ranger's heart sinks. He wants to jump out of the truck, to scream, to drive the birds away, but he knows he cannot interfere with the cycle of life. He watches through the lens, his vision blurring with tears of frustration. Then, a flash of movement erupts from the tall grass. It isn't a zebra. It's a streak of tawny fur, moving with a speed that belies its recent injuries. The lynx, which had been resting in the shade, launches itself toward the foal. The ranger gasps, thinking for a split second that the predator has finally given in to its instincts. But the lynx doesn't strike the foal. It leaps over it, landing with a snarl between the young zebra and the descending eagles. It rears up on its hind legs, its claws unsheathed, let out a guttural, terrifying roar that echoes across the flatland. The eagles, caught off guard by the sudden ferocity of a cat they thought was dead, veer off at the last second. The lynx doesn't stop. It stalks the perimeter of the foal, its eyes fixed on the sky, a silent, deadly guardian. The foal's mother returns, standing side by side with the lynx, an alliance formed in the heat of a life-and-death struggle. The ranger captures the entire sequence, his camera shaking with the intensity of his own emotion. The lynx, the creature the herd had saved, was now paying its debt in full. It stayed with the foal, fending off dive after dive from the birds, until the young zebra found the strength to rejoin the herd. When the footage ended, the ranger sat in his room for a long time, staring at the black screen. He knew he had something explosive. He knew that the world would go crazy for these images, but he also felt a heavy weight of responsibility. If he simply posted this for clicks, the location would be found. Trophy hunters, intrusive tourists, and poachers would swarm the area, looking for the friendly lynx. He couldn't let that happen. He couldn't betray the trust of the creatures that had allowed him to watch their most private, miraculous moments. He spent weeks editing, carefully blurring landmarks and stripping the metadata from the files to ensure the herd's location remained a secret. When he finally released the video, it wasn't just a clip, it was a manifesto. He used the global sensation to launch a massive conservation initiative. He called it the Stripes and Shadows Foundation. He told the story of the lynx and the zebra not as a freak occurrence, but as a plea for the protection of all wild spaces. He wanted people to see that if these two natural enemies could find a way to care for one another, then surely humanity could find a way to protect them both. The response was overwhelming. Millions of people watched the footage, moved to tears by the sight of the lynx guarding the foal. Donations poured in from every corner of the globe. The money wasn't just used for publicity. It went directly into the pockets of local rangers, into anti-poaching technology, and into the purchase of land to expand protected corridors. The video became a symbol of hope in a world that often feels like it's falling apart. It proved that nature still had secrets to tell, and that empathy wasn't a uniquely human trait. To this day, the ranger refuses to reveal exactly where that herd lives. He still goes back occasionally, watching from a distance as the seasons change. The lynx is older now, a bit slower, but it still walks among the stripes. A permanent member of a family it was never supposed to have. The ranger watches them through his lens, a silent guardian of a silent miracle, knowing that some stories are too precious to be sold, but too powerful to be kept quiet. He understands now that being a human in the wild isn't about being the master of the world. It's about being its most dedicated witness. The story of the lynx and the zebra herd shows that even in the harshest environments, kindness and mutual support can become a powerful force for survival. It reminds us that humans and animals share a deep connection that we may not fully understand. Have you ever witnessed an incredible moment of friendship between animals? Share it in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell to explore more amazing stories from the wild.
Thanks for watching. If this little kitty warmed your heart, please like and subscribe for more sweet stories.